Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna show you the acid property of a transaction. Before we are getting started with acid property of a transaction, we must know what is transaction. Transaction, it is a combination of operation that we are using to perform on the database, and those operations like write, read, and we use them to access, modify, and also update the data in our database. So after we know what is transaction, now let's get started to acid property of a transaction in DBMS. As you know, transaction we use to access, modify, and update the database. But if when we update, it may lead to inconsistency or incorrectness of our database system. So to ensure correctness and consistency of a database, the transaction need to have acid property. What is exactly acid property? Now let's get started. What is acid property? Acid property, it has four main points. The first one is atomicity. What is atomicity? The atomicity said that the entire transaction takes place at once or doesn't happen at all. What do you mean by this? Is like this. I have, for example, I have a transaction T1, and it may have write operation, and read operation. If this transaction has the acid property, it means that it is not allowed us to just use only one operation or just two operations. It need to be used these three operations, or if we didn't use, we don't use it, just like that. It means if we use it, we use all the operation. If we don't use it, we didn't use any one of that operation. Okay, now let's get into consistency. Consistency is the database must consistent before and after transaction. What do I mean by this? Is like normally in our database it may have some attribute or column that derive from other attribute. Like for example, I have date of birth. I write DB. I have date of birth attribute and age. And this age is derived from date of birth. It means that if we are perform some update in this date of birth, we need to make sure that this age is also updated. So that we call consistency. Okay, now let's get into another one. Is I stand for isolation. In isolation state that multiple transactions occur independently without interference. Now let's think in the word independently. That means we are able to run to perform another transaction even if the previous transaction is completed. For example, I have two transactions, T1 and T2. T1, it may have some read, read, and this write, and this read, write, and read. As you know, if we are not completed this transaction yet, we are not able to perform this transaction. What I mean by this, if we just just complete partially in to write and we are not complete, read, and we are not complete this write yet, we are not able to perform this transaction. Now let's get into another one, is durability. Durability said that the chance of successful transaction occur even the system failure. What I mean by this is for example, in some situation, you are perform some update on our database and it has some failure in our data system, and so we need to make sure that our data is already saved. By doing this, we need to use commit. What I mean by commit is we're going to commit our data into the disk. So that means ACID property of transaction is that we need to commit after we perform the transaction. Like this transaction, we need to commit. So that means even the system is failed, we are not going to lose the previous that we have updated. That's all for ACID property of a transaction. If you find this video useful, please don't forget to click button subscribe, and see you in the next video. The next video I will going to talk about concurrency control. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a nice day.